Well, the warmongers, neocons, and Zionists are all out in force pushing for a war in Iran. Of course, here's Israel First, Mark Levin. I'm convinced the president will act decisively and strongly and militarily, as he has threatened for days, because he knows what we all know. That is, if the regime survives, it will be the greatest missed opportunity against terrorism and an avowed terror state ever. Diplomacy and negotiations are ridiculous words in the context of what's happening in Iran and what's happening to those brave people. Tell that to the vice president, who is trying to push the administration towards a diplomatic solution to any of this. But okay, so he is, I guess, a lunatic. Here's Laura Loomer. Bomb the Ayatollah, in all caps. This is like apparently what she dreams about every night. So, of course,
you're not supposed to condone violence on X. I would be afraid that would get me kicked off. But I guess there's certain people you can condone violence towards.
You can. If you're Israel for it, you can say, you can absolutely say that, but you can't say anything else. Like, so that you know how this rolls now. Of course.
Well, that was YouTube. YouTube even it's in their policy that you're allowed to say that you can kill Palestinians because they're the Hamas is terrorists. I mean, you could say kill Hamas, but you can't say anything about Israel. It's literally like in their rules that you're allowed to do it.
Gotcha.
Yep.
We are living, of course, in a clown world, a free speech clown world. Anyway, so of course this is coming. Netanyahu, of course, just visited the White House recently, asked Trump to carry out a new round of attacks on Iran. Usually when he shows up, a few days later, this happens. I've spoken to sources in Israel, former IDF, who've told me that they believe it's either going to happen Friday into Saturday or the following Friday into Saturday. That is on the Israeli side that we have. And the president just spoke a few moments ago on this very subject. Listen.
To all Iranian patriots, keep protesting, take over your institutions if possible, and save the name of the killers and the abusers that are abusing you. You're being very badly abused. If the numbers are right now, I hear 5 different sets of numbers. I hear numbers. Look, 1 death is too much. But I hear much lower numbers, and then I hear much higher numbers. But I say save their names because they'll pay a very big price. And I've canceled all meetings with the Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stops. And all I say to them is help is on its way. You saw that I put tariffs on anybody doing business with Iran. Just went into effect today. And I say make Iran great again. You know, it was a great country until these monsters came in and took it over.
Who, us?
The CIA had nothing to do with that, of course.
Us?
Okay.
We did that.
All right. Oh, my God. By the way, the numbers thing, this is, you see like people like Mark Levin throwing around numbers that he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Our sources yesterday confirmed the numbers that we reported here yesterday on the show. 2,150 dead. This was as of 2 days ago, 480 injured, 620 missing across 11 cities in Iran. Now, you've heard numbers from the CIA and Mossad pushing out 300,000 dead. Then you have like Mark Levin pushing out tens of thousands of people. Okay, so those are the numbers from about 48 hours ago, and we'll get you updated numbers as we get them from our sources. Anyway, we want to bring in Dave DeCamp now, who is the editor over at antiwar.com, one of our favorite websites. It's very rare because, I mean, there's so many warmongers right now that desperately want war, and they'll try to spin it any way they can. They're trying to tell us, Dave, that it's about human rights. We got to protect the protesters, and then we're going to sanction them to death so they don't have food. I don't know what now it's about nuclear. It's also about nuclear weapons.
What is love, Dave? When you love the Iranian people, how do you express that? You bomb them, you starve them. Is this just tough?
You take away their power, their electricity.
What are they trying to sell us here?
Anyway,
what do you think?
Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
Yeah, well, first, thanks for having me back. It's good to talk to you guys. And so I think it's important for people to understand, which I'm sure your viewers do, is that Israel is really pushing for another attack on Iran. They want Trump to do it or Trump to back them. And right now, I mean, if you go on X, we're being just hit with so much propaganda about what's happening inside Iran that it's very difficult to understand exactly what is happening. And these people claiming, as you said, the numbers, kind of these astronomical numbers, and you just see it spread like wildfire. It's very clear that this propaganda is being pushed because they want a war. President Trump has said, and he's been saying this for a few weeks now, that he would attack Iran if they killed protesters. And And I believe, based on what we've seen from Israel, that he probably told that maybe to Netanyahu or Israeli officials privately before he first said that publicly, which is why I think is part of the reason why we saw a Mossad X account at the end of December. But when these protests first started and they were relatively calm, we saw this Mossad X account in Farsi say that they have, agents among the protesters. It seemed like they were trying to stoke a crackdown from Iranian authorities. And one thing that we do know, both from Iranian government sources and NGOs that are, backed by the West, that at least over 100 Iranian law enforcement and military personnel have been killed. That's a significant number. That means that there is, attacks on them, armed attacks against them. Of course, I'm sure there's also a crackdown on unarmed protesters as well. But it's certainly just not the picture that we're being shown in Western media. And again, on X, I mean, man, you go on there and it's just people just pumping all this stuff out.
Oh, it's fake videos from Greece. Like you see like videos, I mean, it's just like people sharing all sorts of fake videos or whatever it is to further their own narrative.
Videos from previous protests about women removing their hijab. We've seen that years ago, but people don't know this. So, some of the conversation, I've seen people taking Glenn Greenwald to task, and you don't do that in my presence, saying, oh, you just don't care about Iranians. They really do want this. How the hell can we know the will of the Iranian people or that we should solve it? This is where this conversation hangs in the balance.
Right.
So, and how is the U.S. going to solve this?
Bomb them.
Just going to start bombing Iran? Even
Dave,
if
that's always the best way to solve it. We have a long history of regime change operations. I mean, let's look at Libya. Libya is a shining example of how great things are there now after we bayoneted and sodomized him with a sword. Muammar Gaddafi, or Iraq. I mean, look how great Iraq is, or Afghanistan. I mean, the laundry list is, it's a long list right now. So whenever we want to solve something, the best thing for us to do is bomb them. That's how you help people.
But please do respond to that, this idea that we need to save them. They really do want this. Can you respond to that?
Well, yeah, I would say that these protests started over the economic situation in Iran. And since the first Trump administration, since he quit the Iran nuclear deal, the U.S. policy has been what they call maximum pressure, which essentially, the idea of it, what Mike Pompeo said at the time, was to destroy the Iranian economy and hurt the Iranian people. So then they would rise up against the government. So the U.S. strategy has been to impose economic harm on the people of Iran. So I would say if you really want the U.S. to help Iran, the right thing to do would be to lift those sanctions and not be involved. And you see what Trump is saying there, telling them to seize the institutions. Look at what the Iranian government is saying. All their official media and everything is saying that this is all being orchestrated by the U.S. and Israel, which of course there's certainly some truth to that, but there's also real grievances. But if you have the president of the United States telling them, ordering them to take over the government and continue the protests, that's just giving the government kind of more of an excuse to crack down. And also Trump, he said that he's going to impose these tariffs now. So if that's true, if he actually enforces that, you never really know with these tariffs if they're actually going to be enforced, and say that impacts certain countries trading with Iran, that could just hurt the Iranian economy and the people more. So, it just does not seem to be the best idea. And again, just the idea here that it's the U.S.'s job to help the Iranian people when, as you mentioned, you look at our track record in the region and you look at what the U.S. has been helping Israel do for the past 2 years. I would say there's probably a better candidate for helping the Iranian people than the U.S.
And I don't mean to be like glib or anything. I just come from the America First position on this, which is our country is crumbling. And, you see like the people sharing like photos. They're like, hey, Greenland, do you want this? And it's like shows all these homeless encampments across California. And, like this is what so we have a lot of problems here in the United States. And I don't understand how the narrative is that we can somehow help them, that it's our job to help them. Like Would we want, amid protests in the United States about our own government or about President Biden, we would want the Iranian government here with tens of thousands of people involving themselves in our government or our way of living? I don't want Israel telling me what it's like in my community or what I should expect from my government. F off.
Yeah, and that's something people need to understand. Even if, say, you were opposed to your government, say during the Biden administration, you thought the 2020 election was rigged and you wanted him out, would you have supported China or Russia coming in and taking Biden out?
Right.
Right. People are instinctively against foreign intervention. Yeah. So again, we're getting this picture. I see like this report on Fox News. The reporter's like, oh, my source in Iran tells me all the Iranian protesters love Trump. They're so happy with what he's doing. They want him to do more. It's like, really? Is that what they're saying in Iran right now?
No, and then you have Max Blumenthal from the Gray Zone reporting today, showing other, on the street protesters saying the exact opposite of that. But you're never going to see that on Fox News. So there's a massive media propaganda campaign working right now, is there not?
Yeah, there certainly is. It's massive. I mean, I think they're throwing all of their PSYOP chips into this right now because from Israel's perspective, I mean, the things we've talked about before, they know that their time is running out in the U.S., that they're losing support, and they might view this administration as kind of the last shot for the big war with Iran. And, again, from an America First perspective, what is going to be the consequences if the U.S. does start bombing Iran? The Iranians have said that they're going to hit U.S. bases, U.S. ships in the region in response. The last time during what we now call the 12-day war, they really choreographed it and gave the U.S. a warning before they attacked that base in Qatar. But I think, we have reason to believe that this time they're not going to give warning. And again, there's so much kind of PSYOP happening. It's hard to give credit to these reports, but I've seen reports of that Iran has warned Gulf countries in the region that house U.S. bases, that if the U.S. attacks them, they're going to strike U.S. bases without warning. Again, we don't know exactly how credible these reports are. Also, there's also reports that the U.S. has warned their Gulf allies that they are going to bomb Iran. So, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in the coming days, but I mean, if we're to take President Trump at his word, I mean, he said that he's going to hit him it seems like there's a real chance of something happening here. And if there's a lot of American casualties that Americans could get killed, and that's probably just going to drag the U.S. even further into it.
Now, something I put on X is, we're really worried about the lives of Iranian protesters who are protesting their governments. What about the lives of Israeli protesters who are protesting the Netanyahu government or protesting what's happening in the West Bank? No, them. We don't care about them. Absolutely not. No, double standard. Now, I just think it's worth remembering the PSYOPs that the Pentagon has been running on Iran for decades. You probably recall in 2022, there was a bombshell report in the Washington Post about the Stanford report that detailed the level of PSYOPs that the Pentagon was running inside Iran on social media. So it was as benign as here's a recipe and then also overthrow the Ayatollah. That was also happening in Afghanistan and other places. We know this. So we know that this has continued. All Lloyd Austin said at the time was, we'll look into that. Maybe we should stop it. But we have no reason to believe that it ever stopped. We saw Israel doing it in open social media with Netanyahu and his clean glasses of water. Iranians, you can have this too. So we cannot excuse ourselves from stoking this. We just can't really know how potent the ingredient has been, right?
Yeah. And I mean, just a few months ago, I don't know if you've noticed, but the son of the Shah has been all over the place.
Yes.
Apparently he met with Steve Witkoff. That's according to Axios to Barack Ravid. So I haven't seen confirmation beyond that, but he's really getting shoved down our throats. And there was reporting from Haaretz a few months ago that Israel was pushing him, that's why we were seeing him everywhere. Yeah. And he's really, and there's claims that people have been chanting for him in the streets in Iran. And there's been videos that purport to show that. But again, this stuff, I just find this all very hard to believe that that's someone who Iranians want to fly in, someone who hasn't lived there in decades, want to fly in and put into power. See, we're getting hit at all angles, I think, here.
Yeah.
Well, we know the CIA
And,
with their. Go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to say, I think a lot of Americans, people are aware of that at this point. But they're really laying it on thick right now with the propaganda.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we just saw yesterday the report from Israel, I think from Smotrich, saying they're going to, now it's $1.5 billion they're devoting to Hasbara to push out propaganda. That's part of their new budget, $1.5 billion. I mean, they're like saying it out in the open, like, here you go.
I wonder if there's anyone who didn't buy Ukraine, didn't buy Venezuela, didn't buy Yemen, but then they're like, yes, Iran, this one's different. Who is that archetype? I mean, we don't know. Yeah, raise your hand in the chat. Yeah, that wasn't really a question.
I was also going to say the CIA's operation, having whole divisions devoted to pushing out, and fomenting this discontent and this chaos. As Colonel Towner Watkins likes to point out, this is, a strategy of tension, right? To keep us like in this like heated back and forth. You got the Laura Loomers and Mark Levins. You got the neocons on the other side pushing for this. And you got the MAGA, cat turds who are all up Trump's ass no matter what. They got, and then you have people being slammed as independent media. It's just crazy right now. So I guess, at the end of the day, what are your sources saying, Dave, from people on the ground or people you're speaking about? Like, how likely is this to unfold in the next few days? Some sort of attack, some sort of U.S. involvement, and airstrikes or assistance to Israel?
Yeah, it's been difficult to kind of figure it out because just hearing so many different things. One thing that we haven't seen, which is different from last year back in June before the war, we haven't seen a big buildup of U.S. forces in the Middle East, U.S. warships and everything. And there's reporting that the military has told Trump that if they want to attack, then they need time to prepare for the Iranian counterattack. So I am hoping that that's a sign that we're not going to see, U.S. airstrikes here. But at the same time, I mean, with Trump, it's always tough to read him. But I think at this point, post Venezuela attack, that when he makes these threats, these aren't idle threats. And I think he's kind of riding high and thinking that he can carry out some sort of quick military intervention here. But it could really blow up in his face. And I mean, it sounds like there's been talk within the administration about taking, they're basically determined to take some sort of action, which could involve a cyber attack or actually bombing government targets inside the country. And I think there's something with Trump and apparently one reason why they went through with the attack on Maduro was because Maduro was kind of trying to call Trump's bluff, wasn't really taking the U.S. threat seriously. So what we've seen is Trump make some pretty big threats here about bombing Iran if they kill protesters, and now all of the people close to him who are very pro-Israel and want this war are basically saying, all right, you said you're going to do it, so let's do it. And I think, unfortunately, those are the people, the Lindsey Grahams are the people he seems to be listening to at the moment.
Death eaters. They're death eaters.
Dave DeCamp, editor at antiwar.com, one of our favorite websites. If you are anti-war, it's a must-read. But if you're like a warmonger like Lindsey Graham, chances are you're probably
It's not your favorite.
It's probably not your favorite website.
Not bookmarked by Lindsey Graham.
Probably prowar.com is your favorite website. Dave, great to see you, as always. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Appreciate it.